Hi, I'm John McGuire, founder and director of the Kinesiology Institute. Thank you for tuning into this video. And be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell to be notified when we post new content. And go to kinesiologyinstitute.com to learn more about applied kinesiology. Hey, welcome back. Remember to send any questions you've got. And for you that are watching the replay, you can email questions to support@kinesiologyinstitute.com. So that way, we'll do our best to get those questions answered to you as quick as we can. But this is how I really learned. I had so many questions in every class. I had one instructor, he said, "You asked too many questions." I said, "Well, I'm really wanting to learn this. I just, I got so many questions." We love questions because that's how you really learn. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to get into the bladder meridian. And the bladder meridian is a really great one to work because it's got all the neurolymphatic points on the back right along the meridian. So I remember when I worked with Dr. Thie in his clinic, if anyone had back pain, he would just stroke that bladder meridian over and over and over again. And it was like often that in itself would clear the back pain. So it's in the 3 to 5 p.m., some of you might be in that time zone right now, where the meridian starts right at the eye, on the inside of the eye. Bladder 1 is where your glasses would sit. So that bladder 1 goes straight up the back of the head and straight down the back. I think of it like a ladder. If you have one on each side and then the spinous processes, transverse processes are like the rungs of a ladder. So bladder is like a ladder. Goes down, and right when you get to the bottom of the gluteal fold there, you go back up and then you come and trace from the area about T2 and you go down the center of the hamstrings and then down through the calf out to the little toe. So that is your bladder meridian. It's the longest in the body. It's 67 points. And then your neurolymphatics there's two sets. There's one just lateral to the navel and then off of L2 in the back. We're going to focus mainly on the front ones today for self-correction, and then it's on the top of the pubic bone. So we're going to rub those, and then you have two sets, the neurovasculars, same as the anterior fontanelle, and then you got ones right on the inside of the eyebrows. So let's do those now. So find your umbilicus and go just out to the side and like 1 inch out. And the way you can kind of remember it is you have the bladder is straight out from the umbilicus, kidney is 1 inch up and out from the umbilicus, and adrenals are 2 inches up and out from the umbilicus. We'll just work the bladder ones right now. But see, the bladder is lowest, then the kidney feeds the bladder, and the adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. So that's the way you can remember these. In fact, a good general rule of thumb is the higher the organ is in the body, the higher the neurolymphatic point. So the brain up on top has, C1 in the back and then up here. And then heart and thyroid are kind of a little bit lower. They're here. And then lungs are just below that, and then you got your stomach and your liver. They're below that. Then your small intestines a little lower. That's down here. And then we've got, again, our adrenals, the spleen and pancreas over here. And then your adrenals, kidney, and bladder. And then we also have the top of the pubic bone. So rub on the top of the pubic bone. You're also getting the reproductive organs here. So working that. Oh yeah. And you'll find if there's a tender spot, you work a little longer, it will often go away. Okay, now our vascular points are frontal eminences and then the points right inside the eyebrow. You can do them both together if you like. Breathing deeply. Now the bladder meridian, you can get as much as you can. You're going to start right again where your glasses sit on the eyes, and you're going to go up, right down the back as far as you can. And when you get down to the gluteal fold, You come back up, T2, go down back as far as you can in the middle of each side of the back, down the middle of the hamstrings, makes a little flare out at the knee, then goes middle of the calves, and then goes out to the little toe, the lateral part of the little toe, the nail there. That's bladder 67. Okay, now you don't need to remember these numbers, but when you get into the energy course, you're going to learn, some of you already are in that course, but when you do the energy course, you're going to learn that there are points that send energy in an unblock where you can find one acupressure point, and I found it recently, it was bladder 67, that balanced the entire body. And we show you those protocols. For you that are in the energy course, I believe you see that in class 2. We get right to it, and it's a fantastic piece of knowledge that you can, often eliminate pain instantly with a lot of those specific acupressure points. The question is, what if you're missing an organ, like say the bladder or a gallbladder, and you don't have that? You still have the energy, and see, again, there are muscles. These are reflexes for muscles, not just the organ. However, when someone is missing an organ, that meridian will be often more under stress, and it might be you even need to do the points more. Remember though, we're not just trying stuff related to conditions. We are always finding out what's going on in the body and then balancing it according to what the body wants. So if it comes up, like say you're on the head point here, we touched on that earlier, and it went weak on that, and then you say bladder, and it goes forward. Oh, bladder is the meridian I need to work. I think I had that earlier last week when I was getting a balance, that bladder came up. Oh, so anything can come up, but often people have something that commonly needs work. But then when you say, okay, now do I need to do neurolymphatic, neurovascular? And the person says, particularly with gallbladders, people say, well, I had my gallbladder removed. Well, you still have a gallbladder meridian. You don't remove the gallbladder meridian, and you still have these reflexes that are energy reflexes going to the associated muscles. So let's go on to kidney. Kidney, we just did the bladder, so let's come up the kidney. Now the kidney kidney 1 is down on the bottom of the feet, right between the little toes and the big toe, kind of right in there, and you're kind of coming up, and you're going in a circle around the back of the malleolus, the ankle bone, and it's the furthest back of the yin meridians coming up the leg, on the inside of the leg, and it's the one closest to the midline, and it goes right up just off the midline to kidney 27s. So do that with me. And then we have our neurolymphatics. I already referred to it. It's 1 inch up and 1 inch out from the umbilicus. And so rubbing firmly there. See how that one is. In the back, it's L1 to T12. So that's a little easier to get. I'll show you how I do it. I get my knuckle right under the floating rib there, the 12th rib, and I can work in like that. Okay, that's good. Whew, I like that one. So when you can rub your back neurolymphatics, catch them, which the lower back you generally can. Now the vasculars are right here, and you can do it with both hands, right on this line here on the occiput. I think they call it the nuchal line. And you can just touch right there near the base of the occiput, and that is your vascular point. Super. Okay, so let's move on to the next meridian, circulation sex. So the circulation sex relates to the reproductive organs, but also the function of getting things to flow to the proper place at the proper time. So let's take a look. Okay, circulation sex meridian, it governs getting the circulation of fluids to the proper place at the proper time and governs the reproductive organs. So we have our neurolymphatics for this, particularly are the top of the pubic bone, like we just did for bladder. They share that. There's also one for just under where the nipple would be, but you want to be on the chest wall, so you have to kind of move the breasts out of the way, and you're working that point. That's often good for menopausal symptoms, by the way. And then you have your, same as the fascia lata, large intestine and small intestine, it shares the same vascular. And the meridian is coming from the tip of the middle finger, well, actually goes to that. It comes from just lateral to the nipple, down the middle of the frontal side, the palmar side of the forearm to the tip of the middle finger. So let's do that one now. So we'll start with neurolymphatic. Again, we just did that. So I'm rubbing on the top of the pubic bone. And now I recommend you do not do this when you're in line. I said you need not do the ear unrolling technique, maybe rub a few meridians, but I recommend if you're in the line at the DMV, you don't do this. Or at the post office. God, thank God for stamps.com. I never have to go to the post office ever again. Just dropping packages off. But, it's just basically, again, you want to work these points. And this is great for men for prostate as well. And for women's, again, it's reproductive organs. So that can be helpful. And then you're going to touch the vasculars again up here. Breathing slowly and deeply. And now we're going to trace the meridian. So just lateral to the nipple, going on the palmar side here of the arm to the tip of the middle finger. Right like that. Let's do 3 times. Breathing deeply as you do so. Again, you don't have to touch the body. As long as you're within 2 inches, you're fine. Okay? Let's go over to triple warmer, which is on the lateral side of the fingernail, going between the triple warmer on the back of the hand because it's yang. All the yang meridians are on the back, yin are on the front. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So it goes between the 4th and 5th metacarpal, and then it's on the middle of the back of the arm, going to the ear ring right about there, and then makes a ring around the ear going to the brow. So think of it as 3 ring. Ring finger, ear ring, ring around the ear, ends up right at the brow. Now, triple warmer relates to the thyroid and the adrenals and the thymus. So in this case, if someone has the outside of their eyebrow was missing, that's a sign of low thyroid. Low thyroid, very common. And in our especially when we get into biochemical, we just circuit locate the organs to find them under stress, and then we go to using finger modes, what will help them. We do that with all the organs, and is it a priority? Sometimes I'll find, like a client I did recently, I found out she had thyroid out, adrenals out, liver out, I think large intestine out, and she had small intestine out. The priority organ was the small intestine. Because see, you think, well, we got to work on the thyroid, we got to work on the liver, we got to work on it, which is great to kind of support them. But then we did a test called the GI map. And in the GI map, we found out she had dysbiosis, like small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So we're focusing on that, which interestingly, when I had her touch the neurolymphatics for the small intestine, the muscle for the thyroid, which is teres minor, for you that have done the structural and the biochemical and the energy course, you know that, it went strong. She had a weak pectoralis major sternal related to liver. She touched the switches for the small intestine. Again, that went strong. The large intestine, fascia lata, went strong. So it was showing if you switch that one on, that's the stalled car in the front of the traffic jam that all the other cars say, wow, if you get that on, I can work better. Now, we also did, and I circuit located her neurolymphatics and found out, yeah, the large intestine did like its support, and so did the liver. So just be aware, rather than finding something out and just fixing it and like doing fix as you go, I found out all the stuff out, then I see what's the priority, and I approach the priority, as well as if it's in the finger modes, structural, nutritional, emotional, and electrical, and I fix all of them. If they all come up, there might be a priority out of those, but if the body says, yeah, I like energy work, let's stroke the meridian or do the acupressure points, if you're aware of those. Emotional stress, yeah, let's clear that. That's always good to clear. And then your nutrition, diet addition, diet deletion, supplement addition. And then there's also supplement deletion in some cases too. And then your structural balancing the muscles. And here's another interesting thing Goodhart found out is when he did myofascial release, which is Rolfing, on the teres minor muscle, it boosted people's thyroid hormone output. They actually did lab studies. Goodhart did a lot of labs to find out, wow, I took lab, like blood work or other work, and then I did a correction and I took it again, and he found out, wow, things can correct immediately often. And so myofascial release right on the muscle. We show that in the structural course as well. So you've got triple warmer then. We have the meridian we just traced. Now we'll go to the chart, and you'll see on the chart the triple warmer meridian down here has the neurolymphatics. The same for heart is second and third space between the second and third thoracic or ribs, and then same in the back between the second and third thoracics. And then you also have the adrenals. We mentioned those are 2 inches up and 1 inch out from the navel. And then your neurovasculars, you have the anterior fontanelle for the adrenals. That's the one that Goodhart actually figured out that vascular points were helpful. And I'll give that story while we're doing it. And then you got the point here, which was same point as the teres major muscle for governing, and then actually touching right over the thyroid. So let's rub those. So we got the second and third rib space, or the second rib space between 2, 3. And while you're doing that, you could do the vasculars here too, just going right, 3 fingers right over the thyroid. So, and I write about this in my book. Goodhart was working with this, I think it was a younger boy, and he was in the throes of an asthma attack. And Goodhart knew that adrenals are often involved in asthma. And again, it was the little man on his shoulder that must have been teaching this, because he said he worked on the origin insertion of muscles and it didn't help. He worked on the neurolymphatics and it didn't help. And he instinctively said, I'm just going to touch his posterior fontanelle. We can do that now. That's the flat spot in the back of the head. And while he was holding that, the boy's breathing eased. He stopped his wheezing, and it was like totally cleared within about a minute. And he goes, wow, there's something going on here. And he found out that Bennett's reflexes for the adrenals was right here. So now let's go 2 inches up and out in the navel. Now I find when I'm going here, often people get incredible energy. I was working on someone at the Tony Robbins events. I've been teaching there for 26 years now. And there was a participant that said, when I showed the whole group this. This is part of what I show I still do when they have the Life Mastery program. And I say, okay, everyone rub right here. And he says, I had the most incredible release of energy, because when you got blockages related to your adrenals, you're going to have energy drain. You're going to be tired when you wake up in the morning. You'll be sensitive to noise. You're sensitive to light. You're sensitive to stress. And boy, in the age we're in right now, so many people walking around with hypoadrenia. So in all the points I'm showing, you might say, wow, there was 1 or 2 points that really made the difference. I'm not recommending you rub every one of these points and rub them every day, which is great if you can, but at least the ones that your key points. For me, adrenals are a key point. My small intestine are key points. Large intestine, those are like my big 3. But I also like the brain. That's a good one always. Let's go over now to gallbladder. Now, we'll go to the same reflexes as the liver. You'll see here that they're 5, 6 on the right. Gallbladder and liver share the same neurolymphatics there. And then there's also the neurovasculars. You have them right behind the knee. And there's also the anterior fontanelle. And the meridian is the squiggliest of all. It starts, we'll go through that, but I just mentioned it starts right like basically where your sideburns would be, just really outside the eye. It's right outside the eye. It goes down to the sideburns, and it makes 3 loops on the head going further back each time, and then it goes over right next to the gallbladder 20 is a great point. We're going to talk about that. And goes down and goes to the floating rib right about here, or the rib cartilage in front, and then it goes back to the floating rib here, and then down on the side of the legs to the fourth toe. So as long as you're within 2 inches, you don't have to be exact on this, but that is a great one. And by the way, in our class for the energy, I mentioned a couple things about that. There is a technique where you can unblock all the points along meridian for, we call it acupressure for pain. And I've seen incredible results with that, clearing those points. I'll also mention, I talked a little bit about there's discounts. We're going to go through Friday of this week to renew the discounts. If you didn't catch the Black Friday, this is our last time we're going to be running this, where you can get $300 off any of the advanced courses if you're not enrolled yet. You can also go to the web page, and we'll be posting the links for this too in the chat. But you know, you look later. Just stay with the class now. But you want to look, and you'll see if you click on those, you can watch the first class of each of the programs. So you get another 4, 5, 6 hours of more material. So you can see, hey, I'm really liking this energy course, or the psychological, or the biochemical, or structural. Ideally, you want to have all of these in your toolbox. See, my intention here is to help you be the guide to help you get to where you can really work masterfully with clients, where you can handle anything that comes in the door. I've been studying this stuff for literally 40 years, and I want to help you be able to get it all within 2 years. So my 40 years of knowledge, just get it all down, save you time, save you money. I put probably $100,000 into my education, and I want to be a guide to have you be the hero to your clients, that you can help all kinds of conditions. And that's my greatest feedback. I don't know if you're out there, Saba, but he was telling me he just did the structural so far. Now he's in the psychological. And he says, wow, he had a friend come over who was in extreme pain, and he used some techniques from the structural course on his friend. And he says, wow, amazing. And he talked to him the next day. He says, yeah, his pain was totally gone, and how that was the greatest feeling, to be able to help others get out of chronic pain and conditions and really change their lives. And what we're doing today is about changing our own lives. I was mentioning in the webinar the other day, my goal is to at least make it to 100 years old. And I want to have you guys at my 100th birthday party. So we all got to keep ourselves tuned up. And that's a lot of health professionals. I don't know if you ever fall in that category, but they're working on everybody else, everybody else, everybody else. And I remember one of my students say, wow, it's so good to come to a kinesiology course. I haven't had a balance in 4 years. And she says, yeah, I only get balance when I go to a class. I haven't been classing for you. I go, oh my gosh, you want to be balancing yourself every day. So also just a note for you that say, well, you know, coming to physical classes, we're working on getting a structural class going in March. We've got it scheduled right now for a hands-on class. We're going to see if we can pull it off, but if we can't, we might have to push it back a little bit. But we also have online certification, where especially in the energy and the psychology right now, as well as the biochemical, we do where you can do additional sessions. So if you're interested in getting certified in proficiency and having us work one-to-one with you, and then you're doing case studies and passing final exams, we have that as an add-on. So email support@kinesiologyinstitute.com and say, I'm interested in the certification for online for the advanced courses. Even if you're already in an advanced course, you can add that on as an add-on. A lot of people are doing that because then they really come away feeling masterful, that they can handle anything that comes along. Okay, so let's go back to our, did we do the gallbladder? Oh, that's one we're working with, right? So let's do the points for that. So we're starting with, again, 5-6 on the right. And while you're doing that, you can touch the anterior fontanelle. Oh, and find a little, now here's another tip. When you go further out on the right side and it's tender, that also relates to the thymus gland, and it really helps to boost your immune system. Thymus and spleen meridians are 2 key factors for immunity, and those are ones you could do for 2 minutes. So again, look for tender spots there, folks. And if you got it, I found one. Breathe and relax, okay? Okay, now we'll do the vasculars behind the knee. So you're going to take 3 fingers and you're going to reach behind the knee here and you're going to touch those points. And then once we get down there, we'll get to the, we'll do the meridians. Okay, so you're just touching lightly behind the knee. Now, I had one student, she said she had $4,000 worth of work to try and get rid of her knee pain with MRIs and all kinds of therapies. And then we did the techniques I'm sharing with you right now to balance the muscle that's called the popliteus, which we happen to be touching. And it totally cleared up her pain. In 4 minutes, she did what $4,000 worth of medical work did do. Okay, now there's times for MRIs. I don't want to say don't do medical exams and medical work. I do blood work. I'm getting my annual physical this week. You know, I've had other exams, and I get a lot of like the GI map and MRT. There's a lot of tests that gives you a full picture. So those are great to do too. But this is first aid, you know. So with this, you often clear up things. And if they don't clear up, then definitely get, you know, further examinations. Okay, so right off the eye, lateral the eye, you got gallbladder 1. It comes down and then it goes up and makes a ball around the head or the temple. Okay, then it goes back to the base and then it comes up to around the bumps. Lots of B's here. And then it goes back again over the shoulder and then comes down to the front of the ribs. This happens to be, for you that done the energy course, this is gallbladder alarm point. Then it goes back to the 11th rib and then goes around the hip bone, down the side like the IT band. By the way, this is a great point for headaches too, right here, where your fingers end up. And you can rub there. That's, I think it's gallbladder 32. And then you go all the way down the outside of the shin to the lateral aspect of the 4th toenail. That's going to be gallbladder meridian. Now, one other point that's great for headaches is gallbladder 20. That is right here, basically where the neurolymphatic is for the brain. And I've seen people with headaches find that really dispels them. I teach that in the Tony Robbins program, all these headache points. Some of you might have been at that program because I've met many of you that have gone on to be students with me at the Life Mastery program. It's a lovely, wonderful program. Okay, so now we've got gallbladder. Let's go to liver. So let's go back down to the feet. We're going to do that. Liver point is the lateral side of the big toenail. So you're going now on that point down there. Okay, and then you're coming up between the 1st and 2nd metatarsal, coming up the inside of the leg. And this is like in the middle of the inside of the leg. Kidney was further back, spleen was further front. And now we go up to the 12th rib, and then we come up, tip of the 12th rib, and then we come up here, which is actually the alarm point. It's on the ribs. And I'll show that in the chart in a little bit. So that is your liver meridian. Now we're back to the same as the gallbladder neurolymphatics, so let's work that. And we did these points earlier when we were doing stomach, but just to review them. And then you're touching the forehead right at the hairline, or in my case, the original hairline. It stays there, it doesn't recede like the rest. Okay, and that is the vascular point. So neurolymphatics again, meridian coming up the inside of the leg. And note that yin is in, so all the yin meridians, which are organs that work all the time, and they're generally solid, they're on the inside of the leg or the inside of the arm. And then your vascular point, again, is right up here. Now, yang meridians are hollow, like your gastrointestinal system or the gallbladder and bladder, and they're either on the outside of the leg or the back of the arm, or they're on the back, like in the case of the bladder. So that's a way to remember a little tip on where they are. So why don't we go to lung to thumb. Meridian's real easy to trace. You're going to be right here. That's lung 1, just inside the shoulder on the outside of the chest. And you're going on the palmar side along the radial aspect to the thumb right here. This is lung 11. Okay, so you go that way, and let's do that 3 times. Okay, and then here we go. 3 times. Take some deep breaths as you do that. Now we'll do the vascular. We can do it with one hand. It's also the anterior fontanelle. We've had that. How I remember that originally is, well, it's actually towards muscles, but it's the lung, liver, and heart and brain. Now the points on the 3rd and 4th rib space are for the lungs, so do those along with me. Oh, those are nice and tender. Now again, especially if you're wearing a mask a lot, you're breathing your own, and we have to do that now at times, but you're breathing your own carbon dioxide and bacteria back in. So your lungs might be under more stress. So these are great points to do if that's the case. So you're rubbing firmly between the 3rd and 4th. Again, you find the 1st space, 2nd space, 3rd, and 4th. Rub in there firmly. And so we have the lung meridian. And we'll talk about a little bit nutrition in the next segment. But vitamin C and water are key for the lungs. So make sure you're getting, especially now with things going on in our environment, lots of vitamin C. It helps the adrenals as well. It's vitamin C. It's like one of those things you just want to take every day. And if you're interested, in the Neolife products that I've been using for, gosh, I think since 91, almost 30 years now, they've made such a difference in my life and so many of my clients' lives. And so you can connect with support and say, would like information about the Neolife products. Okay, now we also have the large intestine, our last meridian here, and muscle relationship. That is going from the index finger to on the back of the hand, because remember, it's large intestine is a digestive organ, so it's yang, and then it's going up and goes to the nose. Now, according to acupuncturists, they say, well, you're really crossing over to the other side, so you can do that if you want to be officially accurate. And it goes right over here to the opposite, or even the same side. You're getting the meridian in good shape. Okay, so do that on both sides, going from the back of the arm just off the thumb side nail bed here of the index finger, between the 1st and 2nd metacarpals on this radial side of the arm, and you're going right here. Large intestine. So again, if there's blocks along the meridian, tracing meridians can be great. Now, some people will say, wow, I really noticed that. And some people notice the vasculars. Wow, I really noticed that. Vasculars particularly, and we're going to do that now, that's the parietal ridge for large intestine. People that are thin-skinned tend to notice vasculars more, tend to be more petite, and they just have thinner skin. Those that have thick, more wiry skin, they have more neurolymphatic points that they notice. But again, you can always test and see what it wants. So now we do the lateral, the fascia lata. I was showing that earlier. We're going to do that now again. So get down by your knee. We can start at the knee and work our way up this time. And I get in there and I just rub firmly in circles. And I'll go up another 1/2 inch. And I go up another 1/2 inch. And if you find a tender spot, just work it more. And so far I'm doing pretty good. Of course, I got them earlier, so I think we're in good shape here. So that is I found a spot. Oh yeah, it's that one earlier. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so I need to work on that a little longer. I'll keep going up the other end. So remember in class 3 of the fundamentals, there's that technique where you can rub all the points. And I'll mention I did this at a Tony Robbins event. We had 1,000 people in the room, and I said, I want to show a pain relief technique, anyone in pain. Well, this group volunteered a woman to come from the back of the room, and she was willing to come up. She came up in crutches, literally walking on crutches up to the stage. It's one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I worked on her sitting in the chair, didn't do any muscle testing, but I just rubbed all the neurolymphatic points on her body. She had a severe knee pain, and she said it was at a level 10. So then I end up getting her off the chair. She was on 7 minutes. It was videotaped, and I took from beginning to end. All I did was rub all the neurolymphatic points, And any point that wasn't tender, I'd just keep moving. And if it was tender, I'd stay on it until the tenderness went away, or maybe up to 30 seconds. We got through the whole body in 7 minutes. She gets up out of the chair, and I said, how is it now? She says, God, I barely feel it. It's amazing. She takes her crutches in a dramatic fashion. She raises them up over her head and then bolts off the stage. And the crowd goes, whoa! It was so funny. They thought I was one of those faith healers, touch the body and you're healed, you can walk. But all I did was rub the same points I'm teaching you. Neurolymphatic work can often give phenomenal results. And that's, again, with this man that worked with, it was Maria Sharapova. He did these points on her, and she got in phenomenal results. So basically, you want to be doing wherever there's especially tenderness, work on those points. And I've seen other ones. There's a woman, she might be on today, Jolene, she's from Chicago, and she works on sexually abused women. They call her in right after there was a rape, and these women are so just devastated, and she will do just the neurovascular. She says, I just do that neurovascular routine where I just go over all the points while they just sit and relax. And she said, often by the end of that simple routine, they're like, oh, I'm so relaxed now. I'm just so amazed that that stress that I was just so tight and bound up just vanished. So often the simplest things you're learning can have the most profound results. Another doctor I taught at the Tony Robbins event, he said that I saw him at another event later. He says, yeah, I learned that ear unrolling technique from you. And he says, I work in the emergency room, and people will come in with stiff necks and they can hardly move their neck. And then I'll say, then he says, well, let me do this on you. And he does the ear unrolling technique, and they go, wow, amazing. And they're coming in the emergency room with this bound up neck. I had another woman from the Robbins program who only watched me on video, because I used to just be on video there after I first did the hands-on work. And then we had a period where we're just on video, because he'd have them almost every week down in Fiji. And I decided, well, it'd be nice to live in Fiji and teach the program there, but I figured I would do other things, right? And so anyway, this woman said, just watching that video and doing the ear unrolling technique after she had an accident a year before and no therapy was really getting her great results, that, she said, cleared it, and now she's good. So again, the simplest things often get the biggest payoff. So someone asked, how much vitamin C am I taking during these times? Well, I'll show you how to muscle test that. Let's actually, since the question came up, I was going to do that next time, but since the question's up. Now, what I can do is I can smell the vitamin C, and I go forward. Now, I can hold the vitamin C, or I can take pills. I'm going to show you two different ways. I can say more than 1 per day, more than 2 per day. I'm getting yes. More than 3 per day, more than 4 per day, more than 5 per day. Okay, not more than 5, 5 per day. I get a yes there. So that's one way to do it. So in this case, and I think I need to up my level a little bit because I'm probably only taking 3 a day, but that's good. Yeah, glad you asked that question. Now, another way you could do it is you could put pills in your hand. So I'm just going to show you. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how Dr. Deal does it. He puts the, let's see, wait a minute, be right there with you. So what Dr. Deal does is he puts the pills actually on the person. I've been with him in his office, and I go and I work on him, and he works on me. It's such a great honor to be able to be at the master and have him work on me, and it's amazing results every time I go there. So he'll put the pills on him. So I've got 5 pills, and I'm holding them, and I'm going forward. Then he keeps adding pills until they go back. So I've got 6 pills on now, and I'm leaning back. So 6 pills, I lean back. So that's the way you can determine your dosage, either asking the body, hold on a second here. So you're either asking the body more than 2, more than 3, more than 4, more than 5. See, when I go weak on more than 5, but I'm strong on more than 4, then I go 5, and that's what I get. So right now I've got, I'm going to ask, I got some in my hand. 1 5 times a day? No. 2 once a day, and 3 another times a day? Okay, so that's it. So I'm going to take 3 right now, since I usually take it with food, but I'll maybe get a little food later. Okay, so that's a good question. Okay, let's see what else we got. So Salmon wants to know the point for the vascular that Goodheart did for asthma. It's the posterior fontanelle. So again, put your hand back here, everyone, and touch. You'll see a flat spot, and then that's where you're touching, right there. And that happened to be, in his case, what really did it for asthma. Now, I want you to remember, it's not like one point does it for everybody. It was just that boy that particularly worked, and it could work for other people with asthma. But often there's adrenal factors. So the neurolymphatics would be good to do as well, and things that stress the adrenals, which goes back to living, eating, and thinking. Often adrenals are involved in allergies and food allergies. That's common too. So if someone has a lot of food allergies, that's a major factor. Okay, let's see. The muscle for myofascial release on the thyroid is the teres minor. We'll show it on the chart here in a bit, but the teres minor, you'll find it's right along the axillary border of the scapula. Everyone do this. Put your hands back there. It's often tender, and you can kind of work it. Oh. Now, if you know myofascial release, it's a slow, deep tugging along the belly of the muscle, and you can go towards the insertion. See, it originates right along the scapula down here, and you just go deep, slow tugging up towards the head of the humerus. So remember, we get into these techniques in the structural course. And you know when you need to do it is when you test a teres minor, and if it's strong, you're good. If it isn't, balance it. And then have them stretch the muscles. So you could stretch it like this. And see, I'm bringing it, so this is getting stretched. I can even bring it over like this and even stretch it more. Okay, now as soon as you stretch it, you bring it back in the test position, and if it goes weak, it says they need myofascial release. So that is for any muscle. And in the the structural course, we show you how you can determine what muscles need myofascial release, and then if it's appropriate, you do that for them, and amazing things occur. So often, that's what I actually did before I studied applied kinesiology. I only did myofascial massage and release for the whole body. But Goodheart told me, he says, yeah, but if you do it where you don't need to do it, it actually weakens the muscle. So don't do it everywhere for the most part. You know, it can be primarily helpful, but there's times where you don't want to do it. So you always test the muscle by finding it strong, stretching the muscle, and then retesting immediately. And if it goes weak, it needs the myofascial release. Again, we cover that in the structural course. Monica asks, what is the GI map? The GI map is a very comprehensive DNA test, and it's one you can do at home. You submit a stool sample, and it tells you all kinds of information. In fact, pardon the pun, you get a shitload of information from it. It will tell you whether you have dysbiosis, if you have parasites, if you're gluten intolerant. And, you know, a lot of these things we can tell from just muscle testing too. What specific bacteria you have if you have SIBO. Also how your immune response is. Myriads of detailed information. If you have H. pylori, it's an amazing test. It's about $300 and some. And if you're interested, I can send you a kit. I don't know if you can get it. I have a ability to get the test. It's basically like a medical professional can get you these, and then you send it in, and then they send the results back, and you find out, you know, what's going on. And in my case, I'm really glad I did, because it showed, there were some sensitivities and certain things going on. Like, I didn't know I had H. pylori, so now I'm taking a supplement for that, and I had a lot of dysbiosis. So it's actually, I've lost about 8 pounds since I did the test, following the protocols where I'm doing supplements to clear the dysbiosis. And it's so prevalent. It's almost everybody has these things, SIBO, leaky gut, and it tells you all those things. So it's the GI map, gastrointestinal. I'm not sure what all the MAP stands for, but GI-MAP. You can Google it and you'll see it's a more modern test that finds things that they didn't know about maybe 5-10 years ago through a very non-invasive test. Okay, here's the folios. And again, we have these available through the kinesiology shop. And so here it has a table of contents. And then here, the key to use the chart. And it gives you just a description there, how to find everything. Lots of information loaded here. Here are options for using this. This gives you pages in the Touch for Health book where you find specific things. Now, this is an interesting chart. It shows you organs that are related to each muscle. So if you say, what was the muscle for the adrenals? It'll show you there. Oh, that's the sartorius, gracilis, soleus gastrocnemius. Now, on this page here, you have the superficial energy flows of the body, which again, we get into the energy course, how you can use this. Like sometimes I'll see a midday, midnight opposite, or a beaver dam, where large intestine is over and then stomach is under, and then you realize, oh, that's the block, for instance. There's a lot of different patterns. And then it shows the alarm points here, which again, we go into the, both in the psychological class and in the energy course, we use those. Then we go to, there's a lot of additional information here, written information that gives you a wealth of stuff that's not on the chart. That's the beauty of the folio. The advantage of the folio also is you can take that with you to, say, clients' houses if you're doing house calls, where the chart, is just basically on your wall in your office. So here's that 5-element chart I showed earlier where it talks about, I mentioned the organs, the emotions, the tastes, the odors, the climate. Sometimes a person will have a certain time of the year where they end up having a disorder, and you find out, oh, that's, like where there's wind, a lot of wind going on. I mean, we have these Santa Ana winds here, and people's liver or gallbladder flare up because they're exposed to so much wind. Or humidity, that's the earth element, etc. So lots of interesting things that we cover in the energy class there. Then when you go to the part here, it tells you more about each of the in-depth in the meridians we cover on the next page. So you have your, we've already showed all these. You see the times of day and the meridian, neurolymphatic, the muscles to test, and the neurovascular. Plus they show the nutrition for each of these. We'll cover that in a little bit in the next section. So each of them will have that. So rather than going through all of them again, you'll see there's also the acupressure holding points for each meridian. Wealth of information. If you get all this memorized, you won't need the chart. But guess what? That's why we have charts. When I studied with Goodhart, he had to look at the chart. He'd talk about something, he'd go look at the chart, and he'd say, well, that's why we have charts. Even Dr. Goodhart doesn't have it all memorized. And then Dr. Deal said, Dr. Thie, the first time I went to see him in a class, I knew it was on the chart, and he had to look at his own chart. I go, oh my gosh, if he doesn't know it, I'm not so far if I don't have everything memorized. So it's all there. You got it right at your fingertips. So, but again, the nutrition is up here. There's also spinal reflexes when you have a bilateral weakness. It's a wealth of information on each page. And then also on the back, remember, there is additional information about metaphors and the muscles, like metaphors for specific muscles. So you can get a lot of information from that. Let's see if there's anything else in the back of the chart. Well, this is a good one. It shows, because they'll say what supplements or vitamins and minerals are good for each muscle. Then it shows here foods related to that. Now, this is also on the wall chart. The wall chart has basically the same stuff that's on the pages, except the additional things that are written in the smaller print. And then here's a chart here also of the anatomy, where sometimes you'll see a person will have a pain in a certain area, like somebody asked about hamstrings, and then you say, oh, that goes to page 35 in the chart, and then you'll see all the reflexes for it. You can flip to that. Okay? I'll see you at the top of the hour, and we'll look forward to seeing you then, and we'll get into some nutritional self-testing. See you then. Thanks for watching this video, and be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content. And be sure to check out kinesiologyinstitute.com, where you can see all the courses we offer, both online as well as in person, to really advance your skills. Until then, God bless and be well.